So tell us, where did you grow up and where have you lived most of your life?
I grew up in Taranaki, in South Taranaki, on a dairy farm there, which was awesome. Got some great Taranaki supporters here tonight. So yeah, I spent most of my life there. I did primary schooling in a little rural primary school 5 minutes down the road, Pihama. Great place, actually met a woman from there last night, so it was cool to sort of make those connections. And then I went to boarding school in New Plymouth, which was about an hour north of where we live. And that was great as well, to actually experience boarding school and sort of make those connections with our sort of sisters now, really they are. And then went down to university in Palmerston North, so I didn't move too far away from home for that one. But later on then made the move down south to Alexandra in the Central Otago and spent about 3.5 years there, which was awesome. But it was always sort of the goal to move back close to home, back close to family. And so we've moved back now about 1.5 years ago to Wanganui. So now I'm only an hour away from home. I can zip home for dinner if I want, and Mum and Dad zip down some days, and it's really cool.
Very good. So tell us about your Irish connections.
So I've got a lot of Irish connections. It's all the sort of great-great-grandparents. Last night I talked about my name Johanna and how I have 3 great-great-grandmothers who had the name Johanna with an H, and so it's quite cool that I sort of have that namesake. But I wanted to talk tonight about another connection that I have to dairy farming. So I had an ancestor, Michael Fleming, who came out in about 1874 to settle in South Taranaki and was actually the first one to bring dairy cattle into the region. So it's really cool to have sort of our family ties going so far back with dairy farming. And yeah, it's still the same area, same sort of family around the coast. We're all sort of related and have those family connections, which is really cool.
Very good. Now, you're a psychologist at the Ministry of Education, correct?
Yes.
Now, what qualifications do you need for that?
So you can actually go down the psychology route for it. I'm an educational psychologist, so you can go down the psychology route or you can go down the education route, which would have been lovely to know when I started out, because it was actually quite a difficult degree to sort of get your head around what you needed to do. So I did a Bachelor of Science majoring in psychology, and then moved on to do a Master's in Education with Educational Psychology, and then you do a Postmasterate qualification, which is an internship year. So that involves doing 1,500 hours of supervised practice, and usually it's the Ministry of Education because they sort of sponsor it. So that's sort of what it involved. It was quite a journey to get there, but really cool, and I enjoyed every moment of it and loving it now.
So what's a normal day for you?
Oh, a normal day. It's not a normal day, no. So it varies a lot. So I'm working with children with severe behaviour, we say. So it's normally referred by schools, but we work from 0 all the way through to 21, so it might be referred from GPs or paediatricians, from families for self-referral, from schools or from community agencies. So we sort of get referrals coming from everywhere. And then we are supporting, the main goal is to support that child to learn the skills they need to be able to cope, and that sort of brings down their behaviour, because from a behaviourist perspective, all behaviour is serving a function, so it's sort of about looking at what is this behaviour, what is it telling us, and how can we teach that child the skill to be able to get that same need in a socially appropriate way. So we're working with whānau, we're working with community agencies, we're working with teachers to try and help sort of upskill the people around the child to teach the child those skills. And the idea behind that is sort of, you know, a lot of children have people coming in and out of their lives, especially ones that need a bit of support. And we don't want to be another person that's sort of in there for a couple of months and then we're out and gone. And so we want to make it long lasting. So by upskilling those around the child, it's more likely that we can get a sort of a lasting change.
Good. What's your best day at work like?
My best day at work? I really enjoy, we do lots of professional learning development presentations to teachers, and I really enjoy that side of it. So I think my favourite day is when we have one of those and we get to work with the schools, meet with the teachers and present about, you know, it might be about the stress response, or it might be about a specific learning disability, or about autism spectrum disorder, or fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, or a whole number of things. But I quite like being in front of people and having that sort of discussion. It's always an open floor of, you know, you ask me a question and we'll see what we can answer, and we'll have a discussion about real life events and what's happening for you in the classroom or for you in the school. And I think that's my favourite day.
Very good. Do you have interest? What do you do when you're not doing that?
Oh, I love the outdoors. And I'm very lucky to have, as I said before, lived in different parts of New Zealand, lived in central Otago, and that's a really outdoorsy place. And my partner and I got into quite a few different things. Mountain biking was really big down there. So we bought ourselves a mountain bike and got out there on the tracks, and that was really cool. We did some ice skating, learned how to do that, did some skiing, being close to the mountains. And I do a lot of running as well, was sort of almost like a self-care thing, I think, is a bit of my time for myself. And then I love baking and cooking at home and sort of keeping house. We've just bought a house, so at the moment it's all sort of new and exciting. I want to be there and all clean up and get the garden looking right and all that sort of homely stuff. So I'm really enjoying doing that at the moment.
That's an achievement.
Oh, yeah. It's been great.
So have you climbed the mountain?
I have. I've only done it once, and it was quite a while ago, and it was blooming hard. So I think you sort of take it for granted a little bit, because it's always there and you think, oh yeah, people go to the top all the time. So we gave it a go and, you know, did it, but I had to leave my backpack halfway down because I couldn't take it, and then actually the going down's a lot harder because it's scorier and you're slipping and it was a good challenge, but I might have to do it again one day to sort of change my perspective about it. It was very hard.
But you can cross that off your list, no doubt.
Exactly.
Let's change gears a bit now and talk about the music. If music, dance and literature in the hearts of the Irish, what's in the hearts of the people of Aotearoa?
Well, I think music is a part of every culture, and I know in my childhood, you know, I've grown up listening to music, and it's sort of something that brings you all together, isn't it? You know, we have nights like tonight where you have a live band and it gets everyone up dancing, and you know, you sort of bond over those songs that you like. So music, very important part of being here as well. And literature as well. We have a lot of, you know, historical non-fiction books in New Zealand about a little bit about the history of sort of what happened with colonisation and things like that, which I find really interesting to get into, because at the moment it's not really taught in schools, but hopefully soon. Yeah, so I actually think it's very similar in New Zealand in that we sort of hold those things quite dear.
Okay. What do you think has been the impact of the Irish people, though, on the history of New Zealand?
It's a really interesting question, because looking back at, you know, my family immigrating out, it was really interesting to learn some of that history. So I talked before about my ancestors who moved to South Taranaki. So another one was his name was John Hickey, and he moved out when he was quite young. But he was really there for part of the land wars stuff, and he was a big fighter for, you know, against the Māori people, and we are having this land. And it's quite sort of, you know, now we sort of know that it's had this massive effect on Māori culture in New Zealand, on Māori people, and we still see the effects of that today. So we're still trying to sort of repair the past. And you like to be able to sort of separate yourself from that history. But I think as Irish people, I mean, that was part of what happened when people came into New Zealand. And it's a sad fact to accept, but it's the truth. And so I think it was quite interesting to read that about my own history and realise, you know, my family was part of that. But I think it's also good now that we are still trying to repair and understand what the effects were.
Very good. So then we keep saying that New Zealand and Ireland are similar, but where are we different, do you think?
Oh God, that's a good question. So I think that we had sort of a similar question that we talked about with the judges, and I said, you know, we are our experiences. So there's always going to be differences between countries, because, you know, growing up in New Zealand, we've got the New Zealand culture, and so we're sort of formed from that and from those experiences, and it's the same in Ireland. I wouldn't be able to tell you any specific differences because I don't know, but I'm sure they're there. But yeah, I know in New Zealand, I feel like we are a very progressive nation and we're making some really cool changes, but I know Ireland is doing that as well. So that's another similarity.
Fair enough. And now the question that stops the nation: World Cup. Who do you want to win?
I might be an unpopular opinion here. So, I mean, I'm a New Zealander. I love my Irish heritage, and it's great to be part of the Irish community, but in my heart I'm a New Zealander. I actually grew up quite near. So we grew up quite close to the Barrett family, who we went to church and things with when we were younger. So I think I would be disowned from the family if I didn't say the All Blacks there with 3 of them in there.
And you live in the Naki.
Exactly.
So, as I've asked others, Johanna, if you were selected to represent us all in Tralee, what would that mean to you?
Oh, it would be amazing. It would be such an honour to be representing New Zealand for such a cool competition. But I think for me personally, I mean, it's quite hard to sort of put yourself out there on this platform. We're sort of quite a humble nation, and we don't like to get out there and say, I'm proud of myself for who I am, and that's sort of what we're doing in this competition. And there's a lot of personal growth that happens, I think, by challenging yourself and sort of facing those challenges and things that might make you feel a little bit uncomfortable, like being up on stage answering these great questions. So I think it's really important to make yourself have those challenges. So going over there would be sort of another step in that, and I'm sure there'd be a lot of personal growth for me. And then as well, I do have Irish family that are still over there, and I've never been, so I'd love to go over. Everyone says that, you know, it's not really until you get there that you truly understand that connection. So I'd love to go over there and experience that for myself and connect with some of my relatives.
Ladies and gentlemen, Johanna Poole from the Taranaki.